Hello and welcome to CSR Live. Today we have with us General S.M. Mehta, the CEO of the HANS Foundation. Hello, sir, and thank you so much for joining us here in this chat today.
Hello.
The HANS Foundation was established in 2009, but for the viewers, can we just start with a little introduction regarding the foundation?
So it's a very amazing story. There was a young girl of 29 years old who decided to set up a foundation with the core areas of work as health, education, and disability. These were cross-cutting areas. And along with her, there was another gentleman. His name is Mr. Manoj Bhargav. He's a billionaire. He is settled in America for long, and both of them decided to set up the HANS Foundation. The HANS comes from there was a very saintly figure who is the grandfather of Shweta Rawat, this girl whom I'm talking about, 9 years old. She had this idea of setting a foundation, and she named it after her grandfather's name, who was a very saintly figure and very popular figure in North India. He was known as Hansji Maharaj, so they named it the Hans Foundation, both of them together. And Mr. Bhargav was once upon a time uh, was his disciple, Mr. Hans Maharaj. Hans Maharaj's disciple. You can edit this portion. So he had come back from US when he was studying in college first year, and he became a disciple. And under his tutelage, he spent, I believe, many years, and that's how he has the connection with the family. So he hails from otherwise from Uttar Pradesh, that is Lucknow, and this was set up with a very noble aim, and he had the money. And Shweta's family also was into charity for a very long time. Hansji Maharaj himself used to do a lot of charity across the country. So they wanted to continue the work, good work, what he had started, and they wanted to continue with that and take it forward. So that's how this foundation came into being. We started with 3 core areas of work, like I told you, and later on we expanded to other areas like livelihood, women empowerment, woman and child, and so on and so forth. These days we are doing we have MOUs with the 7 governments. The first MOU we signed was with Uttarakhand government, where Mr. Bhargav announced a grant of 500 crores for Uttarakhand statewide development. That was on our 5th anniversary, which is coming to a culmination now on 30th September. It was a 5-year MOU we signed with the state, and we've done a lot of work over there in every field, be it education, health, water and sanitation, or disability. You name a thing, we have done it in Uttarakhand for the last 5 years. And then it followed with the other states also. Some states have signed agreements with us on disability, some on other issues. Nagaland, we are going on the similar way. As Uttarakhand, there we have signed a very big MOU where we have taken up a very large scale livelihood project costing something like 100 crores or so. And this basically, they gave us land, about 700 acres of land. We are setting up tea gardens, bamboo factory over there, bamboo product factory, and of course we are taking up integrated village development program. And this is all through the government, in the sense we invest, we involve the community. Once the project is done, it is handed over to the community to own it. It's driven from the grassroots level. So that's what we are doing in Uttarakhand. This was our experience. We are working in the Pindar Valley on integrated village development program. Health is the major component which has emerged over the last 10 years. We built hospitals, multi-specialty eye hospital in Haridwar. We are running few PHCs across the country, some with the government. Government has handed over in difficult areas like Bageshwar. There was no medical facility, so we took over. We are running it now for about 11 villages over there, which are very, very secluded, cut off, and in a very difficult terrain. So likewise, we are running in Punjab, we are running medical mobile vans. Today we're funding almost about 150 organizations. At one time we were funding about 250 organizations across the country. We divide our work into two parts. One, self-implemented. Second is through the partners, where we fund and then we monitor the progress of the project. So that's how we are working. And we are today, I have a foothold in, means footprint in 26 states. We are working, we just entered Manipur now in a big way. So Manipur is next, what we will be developing: health, integrated village development program, agriculture, and things like this.
I just wanted to ask, the foundation has been operating since 2009 now. So I just wanted to know that, is there any one particular project that you wanted to share with us, the most challenging one or the most interesting one that you faced till now?
There are many examples. We did, you know, bring out certain stories on our 10th anniversary where we gave a prize of 1 lakh rupees and a certificate where Mr. Late President Pranab Mukherjee was the chief guest. So these were amazing stories of individuals who came out of adversity and fought against odds and became heroes. So I'll go about that later. But you're talking about a project which was very challenging. So I'll narrate two of them, which we are doing at the national level. The one is about the mental health. The story goes back to 2014. I had gone to Calcutta, visited Pavlov Mental Health Institution, and when they were conducting me around, there were about 15 to 20 people, young people. They were middle-aged and young, and they were sitting on the floor, and they wanted me to interact with them. And I asked them, I interacted, I said, "You seem perfectly fine to me. Why are you here?" They say, "There are no exit paths for us. Once we are in, it is very difficult to get out. We have been all right for many years now, but our families don't take us back because of the stigma, and nobody is taking our responsibility. So we are stuck inside. Though we manage the administration of the hospital, we look after other patients, but there are no exit paths." So from there, the idea came that there may be thousands of such people who have recovered, who are in our mental health institutions all across the country, and we can do something for them if we can rehabilitate them or reunite them with their families after convincing the families that they are perfectly all right. And I discussed it with our chairperson, Shweta Rawat, who is our founder also. So she said to go ahead with this, and we ordered a study. Means it was a Herculean task to get the government on board, both the ministries of social justice and empowerment and the Ministry of Health. Uh, we brought them on board. And THF, in the history of any NGO, I think first time, ordered a study where the government functionaries were included as members in that study. TIS director was the chairperson, and the level was joint secretaries in that study. And from the National Trust, from Ministry of Health, Ministry of Social Justice, TIS, then there were some NGOs who had been working in this field for a long time, because to cover entire of India, it needed this kind of a task force. So we set up a task force. It took us about 8 months to do this study. We have now identified that there are thousands of people who can be repatriated, rehabilitated, or they can be reunified with their families, and they can live like you and me, but they are stuck in those mental health institutions. So we went, first we tried at the central level to push this task, but there were certain reservations. Then we approached the state governments. The first one was Kerala. They signed a MOU with us. There are 3 mental health institutions there. So we already repatriated about 200, inmates from there. We are setting up homes for them, like 4 to 5 people in a home who can look after themselves, or we provide some kind of a support to them. We provide them medical, support, and on continuous basis, because it is a lifetime responsibility. So we have set up a number of homes in Kerala now, Tamil Nadu, then in Uttarakhand and Maharashtra. So 4 states we already have an MOU. Now we are going to grand challenges. Canada is joining hands with us, and maybe WHO also. So we are starting on a big scale now. We are taking up another 8 states in times to come. This will be huge, and this is a huge responsibility, very challenging task. You have to be, means anything can happen. These, men whom you set up, we hire a 3 bedroom house in a locality where you and me live, and we put up 4 to 5 people after going through. It's a very elaborate process, and then we give them some kind of training also, so that they can earn their livelihood if they can, depending on the severity of the mental health issues. So we have been doing it in Hyderabad also on a small scale earlier. We have been supporting a partner, but this is our national level project, which we are going to launch in April now. 4 states we have done the pilot, and we are going to take up 8 states next, and we'll go to 26 states. There are 43 mental health institutions in the country. So these people are languishing for ages. There are people who have been there for 50 years also. There is one person who is 99 years old. There is a child who is 14 years old. He is all right. He came from Nepal, but there are no exit paths for them. So it is a human service. I think that this is something, deinstitutionalization, we call it. It's a very big challenge for the HANS Foundation. And this is not going to end after setting them in the homes or reunifying, then tracking them, looking after them for life till they are alive. That's the kind of huge responsibility which we have to. So we are involving the government. So after 4 to 5 years, they take over these homes, they take over the responsibility. We deinstitutionalize our mental health institution, decongest them, and we can give better facilities to whosoever is left who cannot be brought out, so that there is no congestion in these mental health institutions.
This moment you said and you spoke about mental health, I was like, this is such a major issue that our country is facing right now, because
Right.
we
Because
have
of
a stigma attached to it, and in our society mental health has a stigma that if somebody is mentally, if they are facing an issue or some kind of a mental health problem, they are termed as weak, or they are termed as somebody that are actually mentally disabled. So we need to remove that stigma, and that is very important. That is great, sir. One
I'll just cite one small incident which has just
Sure.
been highlighted. There in Madhya Pradesh, there is a mandir.
Mhm.
This is interesting. It is Hanuman Chamatkari Mandir, and people bring mentally ill people over there, means their relatives over there, and they leave them there in the hope that a chamatkar will happen. They'll become all right, and most of them are women. And the government has identified 77 women around that hospital. They have been abandoned by their families. They are being abused. They are being tortured by some people, and they are being taken advantage of. So they have now approached us, knowing that we are doing this work. So they have approached us for our technical assistance to set up ECRCs. Like, they don't want to put them in the asylums, mental health institutions. They want to set up early care and recovery centers. After they improve, then they want to reunite with the families. So this is what happens in our country. They just leave them, abandon them. I gave you an example of Pavlov. They are all right, absolutely all right. They have recovered, but there are no takers for them.
And this is just because of the stigma that is there. People are not really aware about what exactly mental health issues are and how they actually can be resolved. They are just not aware. That is wonderful. So we have been living in a lockdown due to this pandemic since several months now, and I just want to know: is there any specific project that is going on in the pandemic, during the pandemic, and related to COVID-19?
Yes, actually, we stepped up our support for COVID-19 during the COVID-19 pandemic. The first challenge was migratory, labor. They were all on foot. They were walking back to their villages, and then because of the lockdown, the PDS system failed initially. Of course, the government came up and they revived it, but public distribution system also failed. Even if people had the money or they didn't have the money, they could not buy provisions, especially villages, which were far off in the hilly states. So first thing what we did was on three fronts. One was to provide rations to such people. So we made a kit for 15 days or 20 days kit. Like the laborers, they were stuck in Dehradun. Laborers, they were stuck in Delhi. Manipuris were stuck in Delhi. There were people in Rajasthan. There were people in Calcutta. There were people, those migratory, laborers. So we started reaching out to them through our NGOs because we have a very wide and very good network of NGO partners. Plus, directly also we started a program called Op Namaste, where we reached out to lakhs of families and provided these rations to them. The modus operandi was that we tied up with the local bania. You have those shops in the villages. Got his bank account, put the money in the bank, and we told him, okay, this is our list of provisions. There are so many families. Please provide them atta, dal, uh, the oil, salt, masalas, and so on and so forth. And then the frontline fighters, the doctors, nurses, and all that, we provided ventilators, we provided, PP kits, we provided sanitation kits to the hospitals. Water was very essential during that time. Whatever we could do for these, and 4 states we give ventilators. Then we put some money in PM's care fund, also about 4 crores. Recently, we have given TrueNat machines. One machine costs about 15 lakhs. So we have provided the TrueNat machines which can give the COVID-19 results in real time. Means within 1 hour, they can provide you whether the man is infected or not. And now we are going to start a very big livelihood program for the migratory labor who have gone back to their villages. So there is a very big livelihood program which we are planning with the government of Uttarakhand to give them. Means it's almost about 100 crore rupees project where we will give loans, grants, technical know-how, and hand holding till the business stabilizes. They can start their own entrepreneurship.
Are there any challenges that you face while working and collaborating with the state governments? Because working with the public and in the public is a whole different dynamics, when compared to working with state governments or national government for that instant.
Sometimes we do. We basically do not, get them involved in the funding part. But some places we have, like we are doing a joint project now with the government, one of the governments, where they committed 40% of the funding. We have already committed 60%, a big project, but it took them a long time to get the cabinet approval. So that red tapeism is very well known to all of us. It takes until date, though it has been approved by the cabinet, but we still have to sign the MOU. And the work is going on. We didn't stop the work. We have committed 60%, huge project. And I know that they stand by their word and they will provide 40% funding. So sometimes these kind of things happen. Sometimes, like we wanted to take up this state allopathic dispensary in those remote villages of Bageshwar district. It took us almost about 1 year to sign an MOU with the government, though we were doing it for the government. But they have their own procedures, they have to mobilize, and they don't have only one work. They are not only working for HANS Foundation, they have much bigger projects in the pipeline and they do hundreds of things. So that problem we do face, but most of the governments we are working with are very cooperative.
The Hunt Foundation even has a direct approach where you directly undertake the projects, and the THF also funds a lot of NGOs. So what is the basic difference that comes when you fund an NGO and when you take a direct approach? Apart from the logistical nightmare that it will be because there's so many NGOs under you.
So essential difference is there are self-implemented where it needs a very close monitoring, where we find that there is a scope of, misappropriating funds. There is always a scope. But we found that there are certain projects which are very close to our heart, like cochlear implant. So any child who is born here with hearing impairment, there is a device called cochlear implant which can be implanted inside the ear. And this device costs hell of a lot. It costs in the range of about 6,85,000 rupees one device. And of course, we then negotiate with the, if we are doing large numbers, they come down in price. So one child needs something like 8 lakhs. You can imagine even for a middle class family, to spare 8 lakhs is a huge task. So we go out, reach out to very poor children. But earlier in our first years of our experience, we found that there was some favoritism, there was some misappropriation, and we thought that it is better that we interact with the family. We decide who is a child who deserves to be helped, and we call them to our office now. We interview the families. We have a criteria now, very strict criteria, and not that we give the money to a hospital and they conduct it, and closely monitor, even handhold, till the child starts going to school. Imagine a child who has never spoken a word or heard a sound, and suddenly he starts hearing and speaking, what joy it gives to the parents. So that was one thing we thought we should do it ourselves. Second is the Little Heart program. Again, we were doing it with Being Human, which was being run with Mr. Salman Khan's, foundation. And we were doing it with 40s in Bombay, but it was difficult to control that program sitting over in Delhi. So at one point of time, we said, okay, we should do it ourselves. So now we have a tie-up with a hospital in Delhi called National Heart Institute. And this is for children who are born with congenital disorder or disease in the heart. Like there is a hole, or there is a valve which is malfunctioning, or there is the heart arteries are, in a complex manner entangled, or there are extra. I mean, there are a number of 7 or 8 kinds of these disabilities or congenital heart diseases. So these children die very young, and we lose a lot of children in the country because they have no support system and they can't go to the government hospital and get this operated. This also costs somewhere near 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs to 8 lakhs or 10 lakhs in a complicated case. So we are doing, hundreds of children are now today benefiting with these programs which we are running ourselves. Then integrated village development program was very close to our heart. So we are running it directly, though we are employing NGOs in that, but we are monitoring ourselves. Where we felt that these are very prime and very close to our heart and need very close monitoring, we took upon ourselves selectively 2-3 programs which we run ourselves.
So what is the bigger picture to look forward to for THF? Like the bigger aim or something we can look forward to in the upcoming years?
See, our core areas of work will continue to function the way we are functioning. So our next big project is mental health program, which will take 5 to 7 years from now. Corneal blindness is another one which we are doing. And now we are reaching out to the Northeast. So water is very essential to life. If you can give them clean drinking water, it also addresses many issues of health, because 50% of the beds in the country are occupied by people through diseases which they contact through dirty water or unclean water. So if you can provide them clean drinking water, you have addressed 50% of the health problems. So then we go on to the, once these two things are taken care of, we then go on to, and our motto is हर घर में नल, हर नल में स्वच्छ जल. अभी तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने भी ये मोटो अप्लाई कर दिया है कि हर हर घर में नल. सो वी डोंट प्रोवाइड पोस्ट कि सेंट्रल पोस्ट दे दिया, वहां से लेडीज उठा के ले जा रही हैं. वी गिव 1 or 2 taps in a house, whatever area it may be. Very difficult area. We've still, like in 100 villages in Uttarakhand, we have given water to each house, a tap to each house. So water, energy, then livelihood, education and health. This is how we step up our programs in integrated village development program. Because money is also important. If you have money in your pocket, a lot of things can be addressed. So next is then livelihood. Not that we do it in a graded manner. We start all our interventions, together. But the first focus remains on providing. अगर बिजली नहीं है घर के अंदर, तो बच्चे पढ़ेंगे कैसे? रात को क्या काम करेंगे? 6 बजते हैं तो बिल्कुल काम बंद हो जाता है, दिया जलाना पड़ता है. तो ऐसे भी कुछ विलेजेस हैं. अभी तो गवर्नमेंट हर विलेज में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दे रही है, हमने भी दी है, लेकिन अभी भी बहुत सारे विलेजेस हैं जिनमें कि शायद इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं पहुंच रही. So that is our integrated village development program, which we are going to now upscale in other states. Like I told you, in Manipur, Nagaland, Maharashtra, we were already doing it. We started with Uttarakhand. So this is our bigger vision to bring in prosperity, sustainable intervention. That's our main aim now. Once we do these projects like the Tuli tea project, once these tea gardens are set up, tea factories made, we'll be producing something like 1.5 million kgs of tea every year. And that will fetch you something like 1 billion rupees of sale every year, hopefully. I'm just in my head calculating. Once that comes up, all this is going to be run by the community. They will own it. We hand over, we get out of this place and understand the ecosystem which will develop around it. So much money coming in that area. The schools will come up, the roads will come up, the shops will come up. The whole ecosystem will, build up around this once the prosperity comes. So money is very important. So livelihood is very important after that. But first is water and energy, livelihood, and then education, health, equally hygiene, sanitation, women empowerment. So all these we take it as a comprehensive package in integrated village development program.
That is great, sir, because basically what I can get from this is that the HANS Foundation is actually working on every social issue that exists and basically trying to uplift the society in totality. Like everything, as you said, when you focus on water, you solve a lot of problems anyway. When you focus on electricity, you solve a lot of problems, joined to that. So that is wonderful. And I'm sure this has been a very insightful interaction for our viewers as well as for me and the whole team of CSR Live. So thank you so much for joining with us today here. And I hope that I see you really soon because the work the Hans Foundation has been doing is commendable. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.